Hello. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Michael Reed's. Tonight, we continue our journey through Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and we arrive at book 4. I first and foremost would like to send my most sincere apologies for not sticking to my schedule. I've just been a little bit under the weather, so to speak, for the last couple of days. So, yeah, I've taken the time, I've been patient, and it's brought some form of relief where I find myself today feeling a lot better and a lot have a lot more strength and energy to continue as we go through this journey through this book. You know, uh, as much as we like to stay consistent with everything that we do when we are focused, there are some things that do get in the way of that consistency. But rather than canceling, I decided to put it forward and I've brought it to you on this Saturday. I know not many people will be viewing this live, as Saturday is mostly a day for having fun and being with family and relaxing. But the video will still be on here for you to watch, read, listen, and take part in any time you are free. So yeah, if you have been with me from the beginning, you'll already feel the shift that is happening within these writings. Um, I mean, the tone of this book becomes sharper, the thoughts become more direct, and there is less explaining to do and more reminding. So this is a man, Marcus Aurelius. This is a man not trying to impress the world, but trying to master himself. And book 4 is where the mastery starts. Um, the mastery starts to feel urgent. And before we get into it, I want to speak to you all directly. If you've been finding value in these lives, if something here is helping you think clearer, act stronger, and live with more intention, then I want you to take action right now. Subscribe to the channel, stay consistent with this journey. Hit the like button just to show me that what I am doing is having some sort of a positive impact in your life. Um, Whether it's shaping your daily routine or altering your mindset. And if you do know someone who would benefit from any of the readings that we're doing, share it, share it with them, um, bring them, guide them to over to the channel, because the more the community grows, the more input we have as a community, the more people we can help. Because the person you are becoming is shaped by what you repeatedly expose your mind to. So build this channel into your routine. Now let's get into it. Book 4 centers around one powerful idea, uh, where the idea is your mind is your domain, and nothing enters it without your permission. Marcus keeps returning to this truth in different ways. He reminds himself that the external world is unpredictable, often chaotic, sometimes unfair, but none of that has authority over his inner state unless he allows it. So think about that. How many times do we hand over control without even realizing it? A comment from someone else shifts our mood. A setback changes our entire outlook. One moment of frustration spills into the rest of the day. Marcus is calling that out. He is saying that is a choice. Not always an easy one, but a choice nonetheless. He writes as if he is constantly pulling himself back into alignment. Not once, not occasionally, but repeatedly throughout the day, almost like a mental discipline that never switches off. And that is something I want you to take seriously, because discipline isn't just physical. It's not just about getting up early or training hard. True discipline is internal. It's the ability to govern your thoughts when nobody is watching. It's choosing clarity over chaos. It's maintaining direction when distraction is everywhere. So, uh, another theme uh, that runs through the book 4 is the temporary nature of everything. Marcus reflects on how quickly things pass, life moves fast, fame fades, problems dissolve, even the people we admire today will eventually be forgotten. Now, that might sound heavy, but he isn't saying it to discourage himself, he's using it as fuel. So, if you do have a copy of the book, um, yeah, just feel free to grab a hold of it as we go into it. And yeah, book 4 is quite a lengthy one, so bear with me. But it has to be done. Um, but yeah, if you do not have a copy, just pop your headphones in, get on with your chores, and all you have to do is just listen as I read through this. So let's get straight into it. Book 4. That which rules within, when it is according to nature, is so affected with respect to the events which happen that it always easily adapts itself to that which is and is presented to it. For it requires no definite material, but it moves towards its purpose under certain conditions, however, and it makes a material for itself out of that which opposes it, as fire lays hold of what falls into it, by which a small light would have been extinguished. But when the fire is strong, it soon appropriates to itself the matter which is heaped onto it, and consumes it, and rises higher by means of this very material. Let no act be done without a purpose, nor otherwise than according to the perfect principles of art. Men seek retreats for themselves, houses in the country, seashores and mountains, and you too shouldn't want to desire such things very much, because this is altogether a mark of the most common sort of men, for it is in your power whenever you shall choose to retire into yourself. There is nowhere quieter, with more freedom from trouble, than when a man retires into his own soul, particularly when he has within him such thoughts that by looking into them he is immediately in perfect tranquillity. And I affirm that tranquillity is nothing else than the good ordering of the mind. Constantly then give to yourself this retreat, and renew yourself, and let your principles be brief and fundamental, which, as soon as you shall remember them, will be sufficient to cleanse the soul completely, and to send you back free from all discontent with the things to which you return. What can you be discontented about? With the badness of men, recall to your mind this conclusion, that rational animals exist for one another, and that to endure is a part of justice, and that men do wrong involuntarily, and consider how many already, after mutual hostility, suspicion, hatred, and fighting, have been stretched dead, reduced to ashes, and are quiet at last. Perhaps you are dissatisfied with that which is assigned to you out of the universe. Recall to your recollection this alternative. Either there is providence or atoms, the random concurrence of things, or remember the arguments by which it has been proved that the world is a kind of political community, and be quiet at last, but perhaps spiritual things will still fall upon you. Consider then further that the mind mingles not with the breath, whether moving gently or violently, when it is once drawn it when it has once drawn itself apart and discovered its own power. And think also of all that you have heard and agreed with about pain and pleasure, and be quiet at last. But perhaps the desire of the thing called fame will torment you. See how soon everything is forgotten, and look at the chaos of infinite time on each side of the present, and the emptiness of applause, and the changeableness and want of judgment in those who seek praise, and the narrowness of the space within which it is circumscribed, and be quiet at last. For the whole earth is a point, and how small a nook in it is your dwelling, and how few are there in it, and what kind of people are they who will praise you? This then remains. Remember to retire into the little territory of your own mind, and above all, do not distract or strain yourself, but be free and look at things as a man, as a human being, as a citizen, as a mortal. But among the things within your hands to which you shall turn, let there be these, which are two. One is that things do not touch the soul, for they are external and remain immovable, but perturb- your perturbations come only from the opinion which is within. The other is that all these things which you see change immediately and will no longer be, and constantly bear in mind how many of these changes you have already witnessed. The universe is transformation, life is opinion. If our intellectual part is common, the reason also, in respect of which we are rational beings, is common. If this is so, common also is the reason which commands us what to do and what not to do. If this is so, there is a common law also. If this is so, we are fellow citizens. If this is so, we are members of some political community. If this is so, the world is is a state. What other common political community can anyone say that the whole human race are members? And from the common political community comes also our very intellectual and reasoning faculty and our capacity for law. My earthly part is a portion given to me from certain earth, and that which is watery from another element, and that which is hot and fiery from one peculiar source. For nothing comes out of that which is nothing, as nothing also returns to non existence. So also the intellectual part comes from some source. Death is such a generation Death is such as generation is, a mystery of nature, a composition out of the same elements, and a decomposition into the same, and altogether not a thing of which any man should be ashamed, for it is not contrary to the nature of a reasonable animal, and not contrary to the reason of our constitution. It is natural that these things should be done by such persons. It is a matter of necessity, and if a man will not have it so, he will not allow the fig tree to have juice. But by all means, bear this in mind, that within a very short time, both you and I will be dead, and and soon even our names will be left behind. Take away your opinion, and then you have taken away the complaint. I have been harmed. Take away the complaint. I have been harmed, and the harm is taken away. That which does not make a man worse than he was also does not make his life worse, nor does it harm him either from without or from within. The nature of that which is universally useful is compelled to do this. Consider that everything which happens justly, and if you observe carefully, you will find it to be so. I do not say only with respect to the continuity of the series of things, but with respect to what is just, and as if it were done by one who assigns to each thing its value. Observe then as you have begun, and whatever you do, do it in conjunction with this being good, and in the sense in which a man is properly understood to be good. Keep to this in every action. Do not hold the same opinion of things as he who does the wrong, or such as he wishes you to have, but look at them as they are in truth. A man should always have these two rules in readiness: the one to do only whatever the reason of the ruling and legislating faculty may suggest for the use of men; the other to change your opinion if there is any one at hand who sets you right and moves you from any opinion which is false. This change of opinion must proceed only from a certain persuasion as of what is just or of common advantage, and the like, not because it appears pleasant or brings reputation. Do you have reason? I have. Why then do you not use it? If this does its own work, what else do you wish? You have existed as a part. You will not disappear back into that which produced you, but rather you shall be received back into it by transmutation. Many grains of incense on the same altar, one falls before, another falls after, but it makes no difference. Within 10 days you will seem a god to those to whom you are now a beast and an ape, if you will return to your principles and the worship of reason. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. How much trouble can be avoided who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only to what he does himself, that it may be just and pure, or as Agathon says, look not around at the depraved morals of others, but run straight along the line without deviating from it. He who has a strong desire for fame after death does not consider that every one of those who remember him will also die very soon, and also those who succeed them, until the whole remembrance shall have been extinguished, as it is transmitted through men who foolishly admire and perish. But suppose that those who will remember are even immortal, and that the remembrance will be immortal, what then is this to you? And I say not what is it to the dead, but what is it to the living? What is praise except indeed so far as it is certain utility? It doesn't. You reject unseasonably the gift of nature, clinging to something else. Everything which is in any way beautiful is beautiful in itself and terminates in itself, not having praise as part of itself. Neither worse than or better is a thing made by being praised. I affirm this also of the things which are called beautiful by the vulgar. For example, material things and works of art. That which is really beautiful has no need of anything, not more than law, not more than truth, not more than benevolence or modesty. Which of these things is beautiful because it is praised or spoiled? Is such a thing as an emerald made worse than it was if not praised? Or gold, ivory, purple, a flower, a shrub? If souls continue to exist, how does the air contain them for eternity? How does the earth contain the bodies of those who have been buried? The mutation of those bodies after a certain continuance, whatever it may be, and their dissolution make room another for other dead bodies. So the souls which are removed into the air after subsisting for some time are transmuted and diffused and assume a fiery nature by being received into the seminal intelligence of the universe, and in this way make room for the fresh souls which come to dwell here. And this is the answer which a man might give on the hypothesis of souls continuing to exist. But we must not only think of the number of bodies which are buried, but also the number of animals which are daily eaten by us and the other animals. A number of them are consumed in a similar manner, buried in the bodies of those who feed on them. And nevertheless, this earth receives bodies and converts them into its blood. What is the investigation into the truth of this matter? The division into that which is material and that which is the cause of form. Do not be whirled about, but in every movement have respect to justice, and on the occasion of every impression maintain the faculty of comprehension and understanding. Everything harmonizes with me, which is harmonious to you, the universe. Nothing for me is too early nor too late. It is all in due time for you. Everything is fruit to me which the seasons bring. Nature, from you are all things. In you are all things. To you all things return. Occupy yourself with few things, says the philosopher, if you would be tranquil, but consider if it would not be better to say, do what is necessary and whatever the reason of the animal which is naturally social requires, and as it requires. For this brings not only the tranquility which comes from doing well, but also that which comes from doing few things. For the greatest part of what we say and do being a necessary, if a man takes this away, he will have more leisure and less uneasiness. Accordingly, on every occasion, a man should ask himself, is this one of the unnecessary things? Now a man should take away not only unnecessary acts, but also unnecessary thoughts, and then unnecessary acts will not continue after. Try how the life of the good man suits you, the life of he who is satisfied with his portion out of the whole, and satisfied with his own just acts and benevolent disposition. Have you seen those things? Look also at these. Do not disturb yourself. Make yourself all simplicity. Does anyone do does anyone do you wrong? It is to himself that he does the wrong. Has anything happened to you? Well, out of the universe from the beginning, everything which happens has been apportioned and spun out to you. In a word, your life is short. You must turn to the present to profit by the aid of reason and justice. Be sober in your relaxation. Either it is a well arranged universe, or a chaos huddled together, but still a universe. You can a certain order continue in you and disorder in the rest. When all things are separated and diffused. Right, I'll read that again. But can a certain order continue in you and disorder in the rest? When all things are separated and diffused, a bad character, a stubborn character, childish, animal, stupid, fake, fraudulent, tyrannical. He is a stranger to the universe if he does not know what is in it, and no less he is a stranger if he does not know what is going on in it. He is a runaway who flies from social reason. He is blind if he shuts the eyes of understanding. He is poor if he has need of another, and does not have for himself all things which are useful for life. He is an abscess on the universe who withdraws and separates himself from the reason of our common nature through being displeased with the things which happen. For the same nature produces this and has produced you too. A philosopher without a garment or food, half naked, he says, I don't have bread, and I accept this by reason. I do not get the ends out of my art. Love the art, poor as it may be, which you have learned, and be content with it, and pass through the rest of life like one who has entrusted to the gods with his whole soul and all that he has, making himself neither the tyrant or the slave of any man. Consider, for example, the times of Vespasian. You will see all these things: people marrying, bringing up children, sick dying, warring, feasting, trafficking, cultivating the ground, flattering, being arrogant, suspecting, plotting, wishing for some to die, grumbling about the present, loving, heaping up treasure, desiring to be appointed as a consul, kingly power. Well, then, that life of these people no longer exists at all. Again, look at the times of Trajan. Again, all the same, their life too is gone. In a similar manner, view also the other epochs of time and of whole nations, and see how many, after great efforts, soon fell and were resolved into the elements. But chiefly you should think of those who have yourself known distracting themselves about idle things, neglecting to do what was in accordance with the proper constitution, and to hold firmly to this and to be content with it. And herein it is necessary to remember that the attention given to everything has its proper value and proportion. Because of this, you will not be dissatisfied. But if you apply yourself to smaller matters, this is not fitting to who you are. The words which are formerly familiar are now out of date, and also the names of those who are famous are now old, and now in a manner outdated. Camillus, Saso, Volusus, Leonatus, and a little after Scipio and Cato, then Augustus, then also Hadrian and Antoninus. Because all things soon pass away and become a mere tale, and complete oblivion soon buries them. And I say this of those who have shown in a wondrous way. For the rest, as soon as they have breathed out their last breath, they are gone, and no man speaks of them. And, to conclude the matter, what is even an eternal remembrance? Merely nothing. What then are the things which should really cause us concern? This, good thoughts and social acts, and words which never lie, and a disposition which gladly accepts all that happens as necessary, as usual, as flowing from a principle and source of the same kind. Willingly give yourself to fate, allowing her to spin your thread into whatever she pleases. Everything lasts only for a day, both that which remembers and that which is remembered. Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change the things which are and to make new things like them. For everything that exists is in a manner the seed of that which will be. But you are thinking only of seeds which are cast into the earth or into a womb. But this is a very vulgar notion. You will soon die, and you are not yet simple, not free from perturbations, or without suspicion of being hurt by external things, or kindly disposed towards all. Nor do you let place wisdom do you yet place wisdom only in acting justly. Examine men's ruling principles, even those of the wise, what kind of things they avoid and what kind they pursue. What is evil to you does not continue in the ruling principle of another, or in mutating your true spirit. Where is it then? It is in part of you which continues the power of forming opinions about evil. Let this power form such opinions, and all is well. And if that which is nearest to you, the poor body, is burnt, filled with matter and rottenness, nevertheless, let the part which forms opinions about these things be quiet. That is, let it judge that nothing is either bad or good, which can happen equally to the bad man and the good. For that which happens equally to him who lives contrary to nature and to him who lives according to nature is according to nature and not contrary to nature. Constantly regard the universe as one living being, having one substance and one soul, and observe how all things have reference to one perception, the perception of this one living being, and how all things act with one movement, and how all things are cooperating causes of all things which exist. Observe too the continuous spinning of the thread and the texture of the web. You are a little soul bearing about a corpse, as Epictetus used to say. It is no evil for things to undergo change, and no good for things to continue in the same manner during consequences of change. Time is like a river made up of the events which happen, and a violent stream, for as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away, and another comes in its place, and this will be carried away too. Everything which happens is as far familiar and well known as the rose in spring and the fruit in summer, such as disease and death and lies and treachery and whatever else delights fools or vexes them. In the series of things, those which follow are always aptly fitted to those which have gone before, and for this series is not like a mere number of disjoined things, which has no particular sequence, but it is a rational connection, and as all existing things are arranged together harmoniously, so the things which come into existence exhibit no mere succession, but a certain wonderful relationship. Always remember the saying of Heraclitus that the death of earth is to become water, and the death of water is to become air, and the death of air is to become fire, and the reverse. And think too of him who forgets which way the way leads, and that men quarrel with the thoughts which they are most constantly exchanging, the reason which governs the universe, and the things which happen in it seem too strange to them. Consider that we should not act and speak as if we were asleep, and we were no longer children who learn from their parents, simply to act and speak as we have been taught. If any god told you that you shall die tomorrow, or certainly on the day after tomorrow, you will not care much whether it is whether it was on the third day or tomorrow, unless you were the highest degree mean spirited, for how small is the difference. So think that it is no great thing to die after as many years as you can name rather than tomorrow. Think continually how many physicians are dead after often contracting their eyebrows over the sick, and how many after predicting with great pretensions the deaths of others, and how many philosophers after endless discourses on death or immorality, how many heroes after killing thousands, and how many tyrants have used their power over men's lives with terrible insolence as if they were immortal, and how many cities are entirely dead, so to speak, Hellas and Pompeii and Herculaneum and others are innumerable. Add to your recognition all of those you have known, one after another. One man after burying another has been laid out dead, and another buries him, and all this in a short time. To conclude, always observe how ephemeral and worthless human things are. Pass then through this little space of time and conform to nature and end your journey content, just as an olive falls off when it is ripe, blessing nature who produced it and thanking the tree on which it grew. Be like the highland against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. Don't say I'm happy because this has happened to me, but I continue free from pain, neither crushed by the present nor fearing the future. For such a thing as this might have happened to any man, but not every man would have continued free from pain on such an occasion. Why do we consider it then a misfortune rather than good fortune? And do you all in all cases call that a man's misfortune, even though it has not deviated from man's nature? And thing seem to you to be a deviation from man's nature when it is not contrary to the will of man's nature? Well, you know the will of nature. Will what has happened prevent will what has happened prevent you from being just, magnanimous, temperate, prudent, secure against inconsiderate opinions and falsehood? Will it prevent you from having modesty, freedom, and everything else, by the presence of which man's nature obtains all that it is its own? Remember, too, on every occasion which leads you to vexation, to apply this principle, not that this is a misfortune, but that to bear it nobly is good fortune. It is vulgar, but still as useful help towards acceptance of death, to review those who have tenaciously stuck to life. What more, then, have they gained than those who have died early? Certainly, they lie in their tombs somewhere at last. Cadicanus, Fabius, Julianus, Lepidus, and anyone else like them, who have carried out many to be buried, and then were carried out themselves. Altogether, the interval is small between birth and death. And consider with how much trouble, and in company with what sort of people, and in what a feeble body you have in this interval. Do not then consider life a thing of any value. Look to the immensity of time behind you, and to the time which is before you, another boundless space. In this infinity, then, what is the difference between him who lives 3 days and him who lives 3 generations? Always take the short way. The short way is natural. Accordingly, say and do everything in conformity with the soundest reason. For such a purpose frees a man from trouble and warfare and all cunning and pretentious display. Wow, what a chapter. What a chapter indeed. Now, that all might sound heavy, but Marcus Aurelius isn't saying it to discourage himself. He's using it as fuel, because when you truly understand that everything is temporary, you stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop holding on to opinions that have no weight. You stop reacting to noise that will be irrelevant in a matter of time. Instead, focus on what lasts: your character, your actions, your ability to remain steady under pressure. He is reminding himself that time is limited, and because of that, it might be used properly. And if you're honest with yourself, you will know where you're wasting it. We all do it. I do it. Scrolling without purpose, uh, delaying what needs to be done, entertaining things that don't move us forward. Marcus wouldn't tolerate that. He wouldn't tolerate it at all. Not because he was perfect, but he understood the cost. There is a strong emphasis in this book on returning to yourself. Marcus talks about the idea that you can always retreat within your own mind, not to escape reality, but to reset, to find stillness, to reconnect with what matters. And this is powerful in today's world, because we are constantly pulled outwards. Notifications, noise, opinions, expectations, everything is trying to take your attention away from you. But Marcus is saying you always have a place to return to, a place where things are simple, a place where your values are clear, a place where you can think without interference. That is your advantage. If you train yourself to access that regularly, you become very difficult to shake. Another point he makes, and this one hits hard, is about how little is actually required to live a good life. Not a perfect life, not a life filled with luxury, a good life. Marcus strips it back to the essentials. Act with justice, speak with honesty, think with clarity, accept what you cannot control. That's it. That is it. That is all you need to do. And when you look at it like that, you start to realize how much unnecessary complexity we add. We chase more, we want bigger, we look for constant stimulation, but the foundation hasn't changed. A strong character will always outperform a distracted one. A focused mind will always outperform a scattered one. A disciplined individual will always outperform someone who relies on motivation. There's no quiet, there's also quiet but constant reminder throughout book 4 about death, not a negative way, but in a grounding way. Marcus reflects on the fact that life is finite, or that on one day everything we are doing, thinking, worrying about will come to an end. And again, this isn't to create fear, it's to create urgency, because when you remember that time is limited, you stop delaying the life you know you should be living. You stop saying one day. You start saying today, and that's where everything changes. Now, I want to bring this back to you because it's easy to listen to this and agree with it. It's easy to nod along and think that makes sense. But the real question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to take control of your mind or continue reacting to everything around you? Are you going to use your time properly or keep letting it slip? Are you going to build your inner discipline or rely on external motivation? This is where the work begins. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. And if you're serious about becoming more disciplined, more focused, and more intentional in your life, then I want you to stay with me on this journey through the rest of this book. Subscribe to the channel. Be here for the next live. Go back through the previous books if you've missed them. We've done The Art of War. We've also looked at Bushido, but continue to consume this passively and apply it actively, because information alone doesn't change your life, action does. And as we close book 4, the message is clear. You don't control the world, but you do control how you respond to it. You don't control how long you're here, but you do control how you use the time you have. And you don't control what happens next, but you do control who you choose to become. So take responsibility for it, all of it, without exception, without condition, and build something you can be proud of. So thank you for being here with me tonight. I do apologize for the rescheduling of these lives, but this has been me, Michael Reeds, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Take care and have a good evening. Goodbye.